This week, we're going to paint the Krulghast Cruciator. Really, Games Workshop with these names? Hi guys, Jonathan from Two Raven Studios. Welcome. I do painting videos, model reviews, and general gaming content. If that's the kind of thing that interests you, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out. This week I'm going to be painting this Nighthaunt ghost character using some cool fluorescent paints and other things for a ghostly scheme. Nighthaunts are what actually got me into Age of Sigmar. I kind of skipped the first edition because they kind of squatted my Bretonnian army when they changed from Fantasy to Age of Sigmar, but the ghosts were so cool I had to hop in, so I had to get this new character that was released with Broken Realms Belakor, and let's paint him up today. I just want to make a quick note before we get started. I changed some settings on my camera and stuff, and parts of the video are a little bit glitchy. Sorry about that, but you're going to be able to see what I'm doing just fine. Over a white primer, we're starting out with fluorescent yellow from Green Stuff World. If you saw my fluorescent paint comparison, you know that Green Stuff World had the brightest color, so that's what we're starting with. We're focusing mainly on the skin and the head and the skull with the, I guess, soul coming out of it that you have in the front. Just making it nice and bright. And now continuing on with fluorescent lime, again from Green Stuff World, we're going to shade those areas that we just painted the yellow. So we're going from a low angle and creating some nice gradients. I'm actually spraying the inside of the cloak and some of the underneath parts with this as well. We want to look like it's glowing from the inside to give it that ghostly spirit look. So we're just going from a low angle mainly and spraying this color on. Before I move on with the airbrush, I'm going in with your standard brush, and I have a mix of Cobalt Alchemy from Scale 75 and Turquoise Deep Ink from Liquitex. And we're just painting all the metal parts with this, so we're making it kind of like a ghostly blue metal color. The Cobalt Alchemy is already like a bluish metal, and we're just making it a little bit bluer with the turquoise. Now with Speed Metal from Scale 75, I'm just going to highlight those areas. I'm going to get a little bit of overspray inevitably with what I'm doing here, but that's okay. We're just trying to brighten up those metal parts and make them a little bit shiny. Speed Metal is a very light silver, it's almost white, so we're just increasing the lightness of the areas from a high angle. Now with Eldritch from P3, which is a very bright turquoise color, mixed with a little bit of fluorescent blue paint from Golden Acrylics, I'm spraying, as it falls off my little stand there, I'm spraying on most of the miniature this color. So we're kind of creating a transition now from all of the other colors we did, down moving towards the base with this turquoise color. Now to complete that gradient a little bit more, we're going in with Turquoise Deep Ink, and I'm just spraying a little bit from a low angle and shading down. So at the top of it, we want to have that fluorescent yellow, and this dark turquoise color is going to be towards the bottom. Again, we're using this to shade down and create that gradient from the light glowy ghost to kind of this dark color. And we're going to make this a little bit darker by mixing some black ink with the previous mix and just hitting kind of the tips of the cloak at the bottom. Again, we're trying to create that smooth gradient from the brighter color at the top to this darker color down at the bottom. You can use it to shade some of the other bits, again, spraying from a low angle. And to add some visual interest to the base now, I'm just using some deep violet ink, which is a nice bright purple color. And we're spraying around the rim of the base, kind of the edges of everything, just to create a little bit of contrast on the base with that purple color, because we have all blues and greens everywhere else. And now I'm just going to go back in with the fluorescent lime and kind of shade the top parts. We're kind of creating a glow from the front of it onto all the other parts that are painted the other color. So you can kind of see I'm spraying from the angle of like that skull and the spirit, and we're creating a glow coming off of that. If you look at the whole miniature now, you can kind of see, I've talked about before using that warm cool gradient. We have the warm fluorescent colors in the top going to all those cool colors down the body into the base. Now using Eldritch, I'm just going to dry brush the base. So you could actually do this on most of the model. And sorry, my camera was glitching out a little bit there. You're going to see a little bit of slowdown here and there as my camera's glitched out as I recorded this. But we're just dry brushing on the base. And now we're going to switch over to a standard brush and kind of refine what we just did. So you can kind of see, especially on that little grave marker on the bottom, I'm highlighting with this color very specifically, and then I'm also going to highlight up the robe with this color as well. So if you remember, we already kind of airbrushed this on. We're just kind of using this as a highlight to create transitions and pick out the high spots. We're just going to further refine that last step by mixing some Sickly Skin in with our Eldritch. Sickly Skin is a off-white greenish color, so you could actually just use white and a bright turquoise here if you don't have the P3 paints. But we're just, again, adding little highlights along the edges. Again, you can see I'm focusing in on that grave marker on the bottom, and we also want to add a little bit here and there on the robe, kind of the sharp folds of the robe, just to create a little bit of highlight and create some depth to the miniature. I'm also going to go on the back, on the cross on his back, and put some wood grain in on that with this color. I didn't film that part, but after this part, that's what I'm going to do on the back, on the kind of rack on his back. Next up, with speed metal, with a little bit of Eldritch mixed in, I'm going to highlight all those metallic parts. With all the airbrushing we did, everything's kind of blended together now, so we want to bring a little bit of that metal shine, just little sharp edge highlights here and there on the metal bits to bring that color back into them and create a little bit of contrast between all those wood parts, the robe, and the metal bits. Again, you don't want to overdo this, just little highlights here and there. And then with fluorescent yellow mixed with some artist white, titanium white paint, we are going to highlight the skull in the front, the spirit, and kind of the skin, I guess you want to call it, of the ghost. The reason I'm using an artist white here is the fluorescent yellow paint is very, very thin, and the artist white is the opposite. It's very thick. So when you mix the two together, you create kind of a normal consistency paint out of the two. You could use a normal white paint here. It's just going to be a little bit runny and thin, and I wanted something a little bit thicker. That's why I used the artist white. You can kind of see, just like the rest of it, little edge highlights here and there. Sorry for the little bit of glitchiness in the video, this whole video. I changed my camera setup and I didn't realize until after I recorded that it was a little bit glitchy. And the final step, I'm going to use fluorescent yellow by itself. And again, it's almost like a glaze because it's so thin. So I'm glazing the robe leading back into the other colors, as well as the spirit and the skull in the front. This is trying to create a little bit of differentiation between the skin of the ghost and the other parts that are that bright glowy color. So we're just tinting slightly by adding the glaze of the fluorescent yellow paint. After this, we're done. And here's the finished miniature. The camera kind of washes out the fluorescent paints a little bit because they're too bright. I forgot how hard it is to record the fluorescent paints. You get the idea. You can kind of see, again, we have that very warm fluorescent color on the front, down to the cool colors look almost like night. It gives us this very creepy, ghostly look, which I'm very happy with. It was very quick to do. I hope you guys found that useful. If you did, I'd appreciate a like. You can kind of see how very quickly, with just some different colors, you can quickly create a very cool scheme, and I hope it gives you guys some ideas to create some of your own. With this guy done, and with the Soul Blight coming out, I have a ton of death models now. I'm gonna have to play a mega battle against someone soon. I'm looking at you, Kyle. Next week, we'll probably have a video of painting another McFarlane Space Marine. I know I've done a couple already, but I'm painting 1 or 7 right now, so you'll probably get a video of that next week. But until then, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out. Keep on gaming and paint your minis.